Hello and welcome to another episode of Want to Be Entrepreneur, the podcast about what's really like to bootstrap a company. And I have another interview for you. Today I have Pierre Tillement here with me. Hey Pierre, everything good?
Yeah, everything's good, and thanks for having me.
I'm super excited to learn more about NoCode. And I'll introduce you by reading your Twitter profile, which is a no-code freelancer by day and a no-code maker by night. And no-code in the bootstrapping world is something that it's a buzzword. Everyone speaks about it, and it's super exciting because it allows people that are not developers, don't have a developer background, to actually build their tools, build products, and even for developers it's great to build like quickly landing page for their products and so on. And there are so many tools out there that I thought, okay, I need an expert here to speak about no code. And then I found you on Twitter, sent you a message. You said that you'd be up for a chat, so here we are. Thank you very much. And I would start by asking for you to introduce yourself in a few words, if that would be okay.
Yeah, that's fine. My name is Pierre. I'm French, based in Paris, and so I'm today a no-code freelancer, so specialized in website and application development, and some automation work as well. I got into no code a few years back when I was myself launching my company, and so that's how I discovered these tools. And today I'm helping entrepreneurs or SMBs develop tools or applications to be more productive or create new products, and all this without writing a line of code or just a few.
Oh, that's super cool. And so what was your company about?
The story behind that company, I mean, it was called Tyro, and it happened when I moved to Brussels in 2016 for an MBA at the time. And during that MBA, I found myself launching this company with my co-founder Laurent. We got into the recruitment industry pretty much, where we helped students find internship opportunities in Belgian startup. Developed our own product, our own marketplace, let's call it, with no-code tools.
So what is your background actually? Is it business?
Yeah, pretty much. So I got a BA in economics in the US, and then I came back to Europe for my MBA, which I dropped out of when working on this company took too much time, and I thought, okay, it's the right time. I don't see this MBA really being helpful to me, or I didn't learn things that I really wanted to. So I said, okay, I'm learning a ton working on this company, mostly end of days and during the night, and doing schoolwork during the day. So I said, okay, let's drop it. I don't see it as very valuable to me.
And your company was only built with no code tools?
Yes. To give you a bit of more of a background and how we got there, it's so we launched this company with a startup studio, and at very beginning the idea came from, there was a new job status for students in Belgium where they could work for and make up to, I think, close to $10,000 a year without having taxes. And so we said, okay, there's something there where we can help the students find jobs. And also the vision was like, okay, students mainly take labor jobs, working in restaurant as a waiter, or working in, supermarkets or shops. But we thought, okay, there's plenty of very, very skilled students who could, with these job opportunities, really build a strong resume and get more skills for the future and for the future career they want. So if they want to work in digital marketing, they can probably get jobs in startups where, they're going to do some digital marketing.
That's super cool. What is the name of the platform again?
It was called Hello Tyro. Unfortunately, you won't find it online anymore because company failed late last year due to many things, and COVID being one of those reasons.
I mean, it looks really promising. I'm surprised to learn that unfortunately it didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, we had some successes. We got up to, I think, 5,000 euros of recurring revenue. You know, we had close to, I think, 30, 35, or 40 companies, I think, working with
Wow.
us and using the platform. But yeah, there were a few things that, you know, we didn't quite work out. One of them was the startup ecosystem in Brussels and in Belgium is pretty young. Intern recruitment was
Mhm.
not their first focus.
Right, right. I mean, still, I guess you learned a lot, and definitely you probably learned much more than what you have learned would have learned in the MBA. So
100 times. I
yeah,
mean, that was one of the reasons I dropped out. I said, okay, those, the first year I was like, okay, my 5 previous years of studying economics and business and finance, I've learned things, of course, but I didn't see any, concrete learning that would
yeah.
help me find my future career. As while studying, I had no clue what I wanted to do. So kind of falling into this startup experience, discovering no-code tools made me realize, okay, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, so tell me how that happened, like with your company. So you had the idea, and then I guess you contemplated the possibility of maybe hiring someone to build a website for you, but then you decide to go with the no code tool. Is it?
Yeah, so we started the company with the startup studio. So they had some resources in terms of development or engineering, but they were very, and I think that was one of the good thing they had going for them, is that they didn't want to develop anything that we hadn't validated first.
Hmm.
So at first, we were, a recruitment agency, so there's no development needed. We had, a simple website on WordPress that they built, and after that, they just had a few, no code tools at the beginning. That's how I got into them. It's that they used Zapier to automate stuff, Google Sheet, and we had a form built on Typeform where we had, students applying and companies saying, okay, we need those companies. So that was my first entry into these no code tools, was, Zapier, Google Sheet, and Typeform.
And this was like 2 years ago, or how long was this?
I think it was in 2017, so about
27.
yeah, 4 years
Right.
ago.
So what is actually a no-code tool? What is the definition? Because for me, Zapier is very different than maybe Bubble or some other tools. So what is the definition of no-code tool?
That's always a great questions, and I don't think there's a definitive answer to that. But I think it's everything that, any tool that you can, you can use to build online, that's where it's usually, we say, drag and drop. So you have already built out elements that you can drag onto your
Mm.
web page and say, okay, when this happens, I want this to happen. Or on this website, I want to drag an image on my kind of, for website builders, it's like almost like building a PowerPoint. You drag this image here, you put some text here, you put a button there. And so it's tough, and you're right, it's tough to define, because there's many different types of
Mhm.
no-code tools. There's some to build websites, some to build applications, some to build mobile applications, some to
Right.
do automation. And now, I don't even know how many are considered no-code tools. So I think it's in the hundreds now,
Mhm.
because all of them have very different use cases. And I think that's one of the strengths of this no-code movement, is when you think about what do I want to build, there's most likely a tool or a stack of tools that can help you
Yeah.
do exactly what you want.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a good, a cool, or a good bridge here, because I'm here looking at your website, pierretillement.com, and I'm checking your toolbox, and you have a big toolbox. You have a lot of different tools. Do you mind? Let's go through them, and then you tell me for the use case of each one of them, if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
So the first one I see is Airtable. So I've
Yeah.
heard about Airtable many times, but I've never used it. I guess because I'm a developer. Um, I don't know. I don't use that many this kind of no code tools, but I'm now discovering them, and I really enjoy. I use, for instance, Zapier, But yeah, let's start with Airtable. What is this about?
Airtable is like, it's a database tool to make it as simple as possible.
Mhm.
It's really, you can, store and structure your data into databases and tables, and you can really create relations between all those different kinds of data that you're gonna input in your database. Let's say, in our case, for the company we built, we had a database for all of our information and different tables, where in one you would have all of our companies we're working with. We would have one table for candidates, and so on, where you can really structure that data and be pretty rigid about it, saying, okay, there is one column that's going to be the first name, and it can only be the first name of the candidate. There's going to be a field where there's going to be the email. And so you can often we compare Airtable to Google Sheet or Excel, but it's a different tool. As Google Sheet, you can input whatever you want in any single cell. And in Airtable, you structure that database, and every record, every line in that base is going to be constant.
And can you also create like input fields so that can you like give an Airtable sheet to for instance your students? Would they add their information directly on Airtable, or is it only a database?
So there's a few ways where you can make your database dynamic and with external inputs. There's form tools, like we'll go over them, but in my toolbox I have Typeform and Tally, where you can create those form, and every time someone completes my Typeform, Zapier is going to send that information into Airtable.
So it's like a mixture of a database and Google Sheets form. If you mix both of them, that's Airtable. Is that true?
It's pretty much, if you had a Google form and connected to a Google Sheet, Airtable does the exact same thing.
Right. So it's funny because now I'm thinking about I don't know if you know this MySQL technology, which is basically in the developer world what we use to create databases, and that's basically it. That's very similar. But this is kind of an interface to MySQL. This is kind of an interface to the hierarchical databases that we developers know. That's super cool.
Okay. Yeah, I heard about SQL, but never used it. But I think it's Airtable is just a really nice tool to visualize your data as well. I'm not sure SQL allows you to do
no, it doesn't
do so.
Yeah.
But Airtable does exactly that.
Yeah, super cool. And what is software about?
Super simple. It's pretty much a website builder that you can where you can use Airtable as your backend and database. So it's you can create simple landing page and so on, but you can also create apps as well, where you can let user log in, sign up, and so on, and you can show them data from your Airtable database.
Okay, so now I guess you already spoke a little bit about it, but what is Typeform?
I'm going to talk about Typeform and Tally because they're the same, very similar tools. They're tools that allow you to create forms. So let's say in our use cases, we had on our website, a call to action to candidates that would say, okay, sign up to Tyro, and we'll see how we can help in your internship search. Mm-hmm. And in those forms, we create a bunch of fields that say, okay, what is your first name? What is your last name? What is your email? What kind of internship you're looking for? Can you attach your CV? And so it really enables you to create nice looking forms, like Google Forms, or there's a bunch out there now.
Is Google Form a no-code tool?
It's I think it's up to anyone's opinion, but you can create forms online if we consider Typeform, Tally, and other form tools like Jot Forms or any things like that. I think you can, because it enables you to do the same thing and get data from users, people you want to contact, and they can just answer those surveys or questionnaires and you can do it by building with Google Forms.
Yeah. So Tally and Typeform, they are basically Google Forms in steroids. Give you more possibilities, more input data and so on. Is that true?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think they have native integrations to a bunch of tools. I think now
Yeah.
today you can, anytime a new type form is completed, you can inject the data into Airtable, Notion, and many other tools without using Zapier or another automation tool.
But that's also the cool thing about these tools. They integrate with each other.
Yeah, and I think it's a big plus for makers and bootstrappers, because using Zapier or Integromat, it's spending money to use those tools. So anytime you have a tool where you don't have to use a third party tool to connect your apps together, it's a plus.
All right. So, and the next tool you have here is Integromat. How do you say it?
Integromat.
Integromat.
Yeah,
What is it about?
Integromat and Zapier are also very alike. They're two automations tools. So simply put, they enable you to connect one application with another. A good example would be, someone replied to my Typeform questionnaire. Airtable or Integromat are going to allow me to inject that information into Airtable, or maybe send an email to the person that just replied to that, who just completed my form, and many other complex use case where you can do a bunch of different actions when there's this trigger action that you set. You can send email, do this in my database, create this in another application. And typically it's used in a bunch of different use cases, like e-commerce shops like Shopify and stuff like that, where you can I got a new order, I'm going to send an invoice, or there's a new line in my Airtable, I want to send a PDF to someone, maybe it's an invoice or a proposal and stuff like that. So it really enables you to create workflows to save time, pretty much. Those two tools are a real time saver. As I use them today. One of my latest super simple use case was, I have my portfolio website with my Google Analytics behind, but I never take the time to go check how many visitors do I get weekly and stuff like that, because I forget, even though it doesn't take me much time to check. But now I've just created this simple automation using Integromat, saying, okay, every Monday at 8 you're going to check the past week on my Google Analytics how many visitors I had, and you're going to inject that information into one of my Airtable base database, and then you're going to send me an email to my personal email address saying, hey, last week you had 52 visitors. And so it's I think a very simple, maybe not super useful use case, but it's just something I don't have to do weekly, is spend 15 minutes in my Google Analytics, which I really don't like doing, even though it's necessary. But it's a simple trick to get some of the busy work that doesn't really have value out of your day, and not waste time about it.
Exactly, because it might not waste that much time by being one task, but if this sums up to multiple tasks, then it might be 1 hour per day or 2 hours per day. So that's a cool thing about these tools. And how long did it take for you to do this little automation to connect Google Analytics with Airtable?
5 minutes.
Wow.
That's amazing. I'm not I'm more skilled on Zapier than Integromat, but it's really super simple. It takes a few hours, a few days to really get a hang of the tool, because Integromat's a bit more complex but allows you to do more. So it's the learning curve is a bit steeper, but in a few hours and a few simple tests you make, you really get a hang of it. And then it's by doing. That's my philosophy. It's by doing that you're learning those skills.
Exactly. So you talked about Zapier as well, and I guess Zapier is very similar. So you can, I tried it out and it's really amazing. You can basically create integrations, like let's say someone follows you on Twitter and you send it to a Slack channel, something like this. And it seems that Integromat is similar. What are the difference between these two?
Maybe the way to build a scenario in Integromat and a Zap in Zapier are a bit different, as what triggers those automations are a bit different. In Zapier, it's usually an instant trigger. Say, okay, this happens in my database, and you're going to send an email to that person, or you're going to start that automation. Integromat is a bit different in that way, or where you can schedule scenarios weekly, daily, and also, do also instant triggers, but it's not as popular. And I think Integromat appeals more to the developer, because you can do so many different things.
Right.
You can inject code, scripts, and like you can do in Zapier. But I think Integromat is a bit more complex to get a hang on, but you can do more with Integromat.
Right. So can you replace Zapier with Integromat completely?
Yeah, you can. I think Zapier is, for the beginner in automation, is the best tool to start with, because it's just super easy to use. Integromat, it takes a bit more time to really understand how it works and so on.
Let's go now to a tool that I've heard a lot about, Bubble. So tell me about it.
Bubble is probably my favorite tool today, and where I mostly specialize in my freelance work. It's it's tough to describe, because you can pretty much do anything with Bubble. You create web applications pretty much with Bubble, where you have all the simple things like user signing in, creating marketplaces, or creating client dashboards and so on, that are you can do pretty much everything. And you create your database directly into the tool, where I have a database of user, a database of maybe a users companies, and so on. And so you can there were successful attempts to recreate Twitter or Fiverr or Yelp.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen replicas of many Airbnb. You want to recreate Uber? Bubble lets you do that.
Recreate Uber? Really? But Uber has some complexity with the tracking of the cars and so on. Can you do that with Bubble?
Yeah, I've never done it before, but what's so great about Bubble is, first, the tool is amazing. They've been it's a French founder, and they've been building the product for 10 years now. They launched in 2011, so that's it's kind of mad to think about that, because many of those more of those tools are more recent, but they started building it 10 years ago, and there's such a strong ecosystem of users and developers using Bubble, that you have a bunch of plugins, where maybe Bubble itself won't let you do the tracking, but there's plugins that would let you do that. So all the Google mapping and stuff like that, or calculating an itinerary, can be done using those plugins. So it takes a bit more practice, and to really be a Bubble expert. But yeah, you can do. I'm not going to say absolutely everything, but you can do so much.
Yeah, you can do Uber, you can do Twitter. Is it some kind of like WordPress? Can you compare it with WordPress?
I don't know WordPress that well, even though we built our first website with using WordPress. But no, WordPress. I think we're probably going to talk about Webflow after, but WordPress is probably closer to Webflow in terms of its a website. Building website and having your CMS. Usually WordPress, you use it to build your blog or things like that. And Webflow is really, I think, the closest tool to compare with WordPress.
Okay. And so tell me a little bit how the UI looks in Bubble. So is it like a drag and drop kind of thing? How would you describe it? I know this is hard because it's a podcast and it's audio, but how would you describe it?
So Bubble, you create your first application in Bubble. You land on a blank page, a blank canvas, pretty much, and you set just the width of your page and stuff like that. And after that, you have a sidebar on the left where you have all the different elements that you can pretty much drag and drop onto your canvas. So you can I'm going to select a text element, create my little box and type the text I want to show on this page. I can click on the button element, add a button, and all of these elements pretty much let you create workflows. So let's say I'm dragging and drawing a button on my page. I can select that element and say, okay, now when you click on that element, I want this, and this to happen after. So simple use case is like letting users sign up. You have your login page. I'm going to drag two inputs element. I'm going to say, okay, I want your full name in that first input, and I want your email in the second input. I'm going to put that button right below. And then I'm going to say, okay, when you click that button, I'm going to sign you up. And in my database, I'm going to say, okay, get the information from the name input and create a new user in its column, name. I'm going to add your name. And then I'm going to add your email in the email column. So you can easily create user sign up and login workflows within Bubble. And it's most likely the most simple one workflow you can do, and to explain here using Bubble.
Yeah. So let's say you want to create that example, right? So user comes, they can register, then they can log in, and then when they log in, it shows a document, let's say. How long would it take you to build such a service?
A standard document, just everyone's get this, the same on the next page.
Yeah.
I think it takes less than 10 minutes. It's like pretty much drawing on a page. You take a blank piece of paper, draw those, those three elements. Then the workflow is super simple to set up. Bubble is most likely the tool to where the learning curve is the steepest. It gets technical, and this one, of course, takes me 5 minutes to do so, because I've done hundreds of them. For a new user coming in, first of all, usually when you create an app, you can say, okay, I'm using this standard page, and their login functionality is already created for you. But in Bubble, when you first sign up, you have I think 10 lessons of less than 3 minutes. 30 minutes, you know how to create a user login, you know how to input addresses that show on a map, and stuff like that.
How long would you say that you need to grasp Bubble and kind of understand a little bit how it works, to feel comfortable building more than just a landing page with a login? Like how long would it take? 1 week, 1 month?
I think for to get into the more complex and usually the apps that you see today, it takes I'd say a good month to really understand the logic of okay, I can create anything I can put anything on my page, but then after that it's understanding how to structure the data, because that's one of the super important things. And I'm sure as a developer, structuring your database in the right way to make things super efficient could be difficult for someone who hasn't done or worked with a database.
Well, it's absurd that you can do this kind of stuff with the NoCode tool. For me, it's really amazing. And even if it takes 1 or 2 months to learn how to do those things, if you're learning how to code, this would take maybe years, So it's much faster.
Yeah, I don't know anything about code, or just dabbled with some HTML and CSS at some point, just on my own, just to get a grasp of it.
Yeah.
Which I think is important for to really understand how the web works. Having those really basic stuff is helpful. But yeah, you can really build stuff out. Today, now during weekends, sometimes I get, I have this fun app I could use with my friends, and then in a weekend you can really build something really cool.
Okay, so this was Bubble, and I still have here Landbot and Webflow and Notion, right? Let's go to Notion, actually, because I've also heard Notion a couple of times, but I haven't actually. I tried to open it. It looks also like a Google Doc or something. Is it? What is Notion?
Notion is a tough one to describe as well, because it's such a powerful tool, and I think the best use case for Notion usually is if you want to organize your personal and professional life. And companies use Notion as a whole, as it's a really collaborative tool where you can pretty much also kind of create, it's not drag and drop there, but you can pretty much create a whole company, internal company dashboard to manage, sales, manage project management, follow content creation, and today Notion, I do a bit of consulting for clients when they really need it. It's not my focus, but I've created my own personal dashboard to follow everything I do in terms of a personal life and also a professional life. So in Notion, to not get too into the details, but you create pretty much database like you could do in Airtable, and on many different pages you can call out this information and show it in a visual way, saying, okay, today I have a database which is for my leads. So you go on my website, there's a little form that you can complete where you say your name, your email, how could I help you in your no-code development, and this information goes directly into my database, in my Notion database of leads. And I have a page where I show, okay, all the leads that are just new ones that I haven't worked with. And so I can see, okay, Thiago has reached out to me. I can send you an email, move it to a new status saying, okay, contacted. And so you can really build your own organization on there. And it's tough to describe here just talking, because you can pretty much do anything. It's those database, you can show them in a calendar view, you can show them in Kanban views, you can show them in list or tables. And so you can really do a bunch of things.
I'm super excited to try it out now that you describe it. It seems like I would compare it maybe with Jira, and I don't know if you know Jira, but it's kind of a software that companies use also to manage their workflow. You can also show in Kanban, and you can create tasks. So it seems that somehow connected to that. Do you know Jira by any name?
Not really. No,
Okay.
I don't think I've ever.
It seems something similar. I don't know. Maybe someone then from my listeners will tell me that I'm completely wrong. But do you integrate Notion with some of the other tools, or you don't need it?
I just get incoming data directly into Notion, but I don't automate task from Notion, or not yet, actually, for now.
Don't connect it with Airtable, for instance.
No, because I don't use Airtable personally. I mean, I use it for clients, but I don't use it in my personal organization. And I think it kind of tells about how powerful Notion is, because I love Airtable, but I don't see the use of Airtable for now in my work to have to use it on top of Notion.
Landbot, your other tool that you have here in your toolbox. You have a very big toolbox, by the way. Landbot, what is it about?
It's a chatbot, a no-code chatbot builder. So it's pretty.
Wow,
I mean,
it's cool.
If I needed to compare it to other tools, it's pretty close to a Typeform, a Tally, but it's more in a chatbot form. Yeah. I think you can do a lot of cool stuff with Landbot, and I've worked on some very challenging projects on Landbot where you can directly into the flow inject information from other tools using the API, the webhooks and stuff like that. It's really a cool conversational tool, and I think today in all the modern website almost have a chat box and at the bottom right of their website. Well, Landbot does that, and it's super helpful because you can as well connect it to a bunch of other database tools directly and so on.
So how does it work? Do you write down the question and then the answer, and then it automatically creates a conversation? How does it work?
So it's also very drag and drop. So I'm gonna create my chatbot. I have there's already a welcome message, which it's a big blank canvas as well, where I have this little blog that say, okay, this is hey, welcome Thiago to this chatbot. I can type any text I want. I can add images, GIF, and so on. And after that, it's really you can add any by dragging a little arrow from that first block. you drag it, and it opens up a new panel where you can select the type of question you want to ask. So is it a a regular text question? Is it a multiple choice? Is it you're asking for an address, asking for an email? And so you create your flow just by every time saying, okay, after this block, I want you to go to this block. So it's a bit more visual than a regular form tool, but it's pretty much very, very much the same.
And the last tool here in your toolbox is the Webflow, which you already told us that it's a bit similar to Bubble, but do you want to share a little bit more about it?
I mean, you build website with Webflow.
All right, so it's more connected with WordPress.
Yes, exactly. WordPress. They had the NoCode conference, I think, a week ago, and they announced a big, a bunch of new features that are getting them a bit closer to Bubble. Nowhere near, but a bit closer. But yeah, you can really, create websites. And now if you're looking to create your company website, I don't see now the appeal to do it coding. Webflow is absolutely amazing. Just go check out on their website the templates that you have available that you can buy or that are available for free. The things you can do with Webflow in terms of of design is absolutely unmatched, and you can do super simple website, but you can do also super dynamic and probably, I mean, today there's a few designers that use Webflow where I see their projects. I'm like, how is it even possible? Because I think I'm pretty good using the tool, but I'm like, okay, how do you do this?
Yeah.
So Webflow is really, website design, the top website design tool today.
Mm-hmm. And is it easier to learn than Bubble?
I think it's hard to learn as well, because it's really using a developer not vocabulary, but it's all it's HTML. You have to understand HTML, CSS, everything that goes from creating classes, what is Flexbox, and it gets pretty technical. So I had the chance to build our Tyro website from scratch. So I made a ton of mistakes. I didn't know what a class were, how you could create a class and then just add it to another text, and it's going to take the same font and size and stuff like that. So I made a bunch of mistakes and spent a ton of time creating that website. But now with the learning behind me, you can really create websites super fast, and using templates that are available on their marketplace is also so cool, because you find something, okay, you find inspiration first, and then you say, okay, this template really matches what I want to do for my business or for my personal portfolio. For example, my portfolio, I bought I think a $40 template, and in a day I created that website, because there were all the different sections I needed. I just needed to adapt the content, change a few things, but building maybe that my personal portfolio from scratch, first of all, I wouldn't have that much inspiration or what to do, what to show,
right.
And it would have taken me at least a week now that I'm pretty good using the tool.
And Bubble doesn't offer you templates?
Yeah, you have templates as well on Bubble.
So if someone is starting now and building their website, complete noob, would you advise for them to use Bubble or Webflow?
For a website, Webflow. I think Bubble is. I think I wouldn't advise you to create a website or with static content, at least on right. Bubble, because in terms of SEO, Bubble is nowhere near what Webflow can allow you to do. Yeah, and Bubble is still working on their responsiveness feature, but Bubble was really, really tough to work on different format, and usually when I start building an application in Bubble, you either have to choose, okay, am I building for a laptop, am I building for mobile, because trying to do the responsiveness is super hard, and Webflow is super easy, and you can select this. the different screens you have and directly edit on from those screens and say, okay, on mobile, this is what it's going to look like. I can show or hide a section that maybe doesn't fit a mobile screen. I can make my H1 6 pixel smaller on my iPhone or stuff like that. So in terms of website or a blog and CMS content, I mean, Webflow is the go-to tool.
So Bubble is more for if you want to do something more advanced, more dynamical, right?
Yeah, okay. For typical web application where just simple user login, sign in, which are possible with Webflow, but you won't go as far in terms of functionality with Webflow.
And let's talk about pricing now. We went through your old toolbox, and I think it was super valuable. I've learned a lot. I'm sure that the listeners will also learn, and they will get super motivated to get started. But one thing as a developer is that, and as a bootstrapper too, I don't have money, right? So I try always to avoid spending. And when I think about these no-code tools, I think about spending tons of money, like monthly fees and this kind of stuff. What is the pricing? Are all of them paid, or do they have like a free tier or something like that?
Yeah, all of them have a freemium plan. Okay. So typically, Airtable, you can start with a freemium plan, and usually I'm putting myself into a bootstrapper shoes. It's should be enough to start at least. Zapier and Integromat do as well, and then from the other ones, Notion is basically free, except if you really, if you really use it, daily and have a lot of information in there, you probably can get on the paid version, which I think is $8 a month or something like that.
Okay.
And for the other ones, Typeform can be free, Tallies can be free, and then Bubble and Webflow are a freemium version. But as soon as you want to, have your own domain and maybe have more data into them, you have to get to a premium plan. But I think, for example, a simple my personal portfolio on Webflow is costs me maybe 20 or 25 euros a month,
which is still a good amount if you're if you have a side project or you're not making money in the beginning. So spending 20 bucks every month can be still a deal breaker.
I'm sure you still have to invest a bit to start your business. So if you're just starting, you can test it out for a few months, and if it doesn't pan out, well, you cut your losses and stop those paid subscription. But I think you can start with, you can get away easily with $50 a month, to really start something new and test and validate your idea pretty much.
I have here some questions from the wannabe entrepreneur community. We have a virtual co-working space, and I asked them like, hey, what question should I ask? And one question from Mark is about your freelancing, because you're also a freelancer, right? So you also sell your services.
No, that's my main activity today, pretty much.
That's your main activity?
Yeah.
So how do you find your clients? Like, how did it started, and nowadays, like, how do you find them?
There's a few different ways I get clients. A part of it come from social media, so Twitter or LinkedIn, where I try to be as active as possible, create content around no code, around freelancing, and I'm getting I'm going to say 30% of my leads from these social media channels. I get about another third from no-code agencies, because we have a few here in France, and even I think there's one in the US where they surround themselves with freelancers to work on clients' project when they don't have the time or the resources to do so. So I'm part of those collect freelance communities, and the last one is a French platform, a French freelancer platform, which I guess we could almost have connected to those agencies, where I have my profile on there, and people reach out to me. Oh no, and I forgot one. One is the expert pages on some of these tools. Many of those tools we talked about have a list of certified experts.
It's amazing. I mean, you have a lot of ways to get new clients. And how is that working? Is it a good business? Do you make good money? by doing so?
So yeah, it's working out pretty well. I think I'm still early in that in my freelancing career, so I keep on learning how to get clients and so on. But I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of demand for no code, development and no code development.
Mhm.
But it's competitive. There's with the movement just growing super fast, it's tough because a lot of people are going into the business. Companies are starting to offer service of no code development. So it's competitive. One of the the advice or something that I still have to make at some point in terms of decision making is to where do I want to specialize myself? Because in no code, I'm gonna have I think map three types of no code freelancers. You have the ones that really want to work on automation and build custom tools for companies, where it's mostly using Airtable and automation tools like
Yeah.
Integromat or Zapier. You have the designers, where they're Webflow experts, and then you have the application developer, who are really specialized on Bubble,
Right.
for instance. So I was lucky to be able to touch on all those tools for the past 4 years, but I still have to make at some point, a decision. Okay, which direction do I want to take so I can, work on, spend my time, 24/7 in Bubble or 24/7 in Webflow, and really become one of the top guys out
Mhm.
there. So
How much can
it's
you ask for? Like, what's like your hourly rate? Or
hourly rate. If I draw it down from my daily rate, it's 80 euros an hour.
wow, okay.
Yeah, 80, 90. So I'm 400 euros a day. But
Mhm.
that's when it's a one day job. Today I have clients that I work with on for periods of 2, 3, 4 months. I think that's one of the things I learned recently is typically Bubble development. I don't have many founders just telling me, okay, we need to build an MVP. I have established startups or scale ups that are kind of working with Bubble in some sort of way on their product, and they
Mhm.
need one person to come work with them almost internally. Okay, we
Got
need
it.
to develop this
Yeah.
feature, we need to go faster. And so on those projects, my daily rate goes down because
Yeah, of
that's
course.
how I
Yeah.
guess freelancing works. But
It's interesting
the
because your rates are very similar to a developer rates, I think, like as a freelancer too. So why would companies, and maybe this is a little bit a provocative question, but don't take it wrongly, but why
no,
would
no.
a company hire a no-code developer instead of a developer?
First of all, I think the philosophy for a company is that they don't they don't care how it's built. They don't care how it's built. So that's a bit provocative because no code is nowhere near. The possibilities of no code are nowhere near what you can do with code, of course. But now you can do so much. I think that a company doesn't really care if we developed their marketplace or usually simpler products with code or no code. That's the first thing. And then after that, I think and I'd love to be proven wrong by a developer that tell me can do different types of product faster than me, but it goes faster. I think the companies can be more included in the project, and you can more easily give them the tool and the product you build for them to later on keep on building and improving the product.
Mhm.
And iteration cycles are also, I think, quicker. One week of work developing a Bubble app, I have something working, I can give it to the client. He's going to tell me, okay, this is good, this is good, this is not good, this is not good. And the next
Right.
week I can build the new features, adapt the ones he didn't like. And so I think if it takes less time, it's less costly in development, and you can, I think, have V0, V1, V2 of a product built with no code more usable than a full-fledged product that comes to mind. And I see those posts on LinkedIn where you have two future founders. Oh, we have this great idea and we're looking for a CTO to build our app. I'm like, okay, you're probably just stepping already too far. You can probably build the V1 of your product using no code for much less money, and then when you explode and you're like, okay, no code cannot handle my needs anymore, I'll get a team of developers and hire developers to build the product with code.
I mean, yeah, it makes total sense, because even if your rates are the same as a developer, you do things faster, so it becomes cheaper. And I didn't never thought about it, but it's really cool. Like, so when you have a developer, and especially if they don't do a good job, they might write bad code, and then if someone else is taking over, I've heard this many times, that people are like, I don't want to work with this code, I'd rather just rewrite it. Is that also the same with no code? Can you like have a peer, a fellow no coder, and see, okay, he does shit no code?
Yeah. I think it's in your. That's a great point you take up upon, because I think that's one thing that the no code space need to improve on. It's that documentation. I think, like, now many coders or stuff like that, we do things very differently, and you can, working in your own app, exactly what's going on, and by taking clients that already had their app built out by someone else, it needs time to adapt. And sometimes I'm like, why is he doing this? Why is he building it this way? What's the point behind it? So I think there's a lot of work in terms of a no-code developer documenting their work and having a best practice, exactly, and a standard of doing things one way and not another. And typically, I think one of the closest tool that we can bring this issue upon is Webflow, because it's almost as you're writing code, even though it's a no-code tool. But everything from classes, do I put a container inside my div, and how do I manage sections out and stuff like that? Now Webflow, I think Webflow is the closest one, because I think many website developers use it and used their best practices. But yeah, Bubble and others, sometimes you're like, okay, this is a big bowl of spaghettis. There's workflows everywhere. I don't know what's going on. Why does he do this before this? And so you're right.
Funny.
I think
it's really funny, because that also happens with development, right? Like, and that's why now there's design patterns and there's like best practices, and I guess no code needs to catch up in that sense. But it's really interesting to see that it's the same problem.
And that's probably because I'm not an engineer. I've never coded and stuff like that. So I just was thrown into those tools, and I did everything my way without ever thinking, okay, is someone going to pick up the app after me, and so on. And I had no guidelines. I just had fun with it, and we probably take on bad habits that are going to be hard to erase. But now the more and more, and especially working with clients, I have to be super careful naming everything according, I'm not sure how you call this in English, but nomenclature, I'm going to name any type of elements this way, any type of elements this way, to make sure everything's kind of at least clear for me, and could be as clear as possible for someone taking up on my work.
We have the same problems, and maybe no code can learn from developers as well, how they solved it. It could be
definitely.
Maxwell here asks, what do you do when you reach the limit of your tool, when you reach the limit of Bubble, of Webflow? And Philip also asks, what are the limits? Like, for you, can you pinpoint them?
I've not reached the limits yet. I'm sure other people have. I've not worked on projects where I'm like, okay, I'm stuck. There's no way to do this. The few, where in Webflow, add several times to add a line of code or stuff like that, to do some, typically typing animation on a block of text, saying, okay, I want to have this typing animation and show 3 different words successful, by succession. So that's where, when you I think people hit the limit, they're going to be, you're still able to out code in all of these tools. If you reach the limit at some point, I'm sure you can still, add a block of code to do whatever you need.
You can
But
also do
after
that with
that,
Bubble, with a.
yeah, exactly. With Bubble, you can do, lots of things and add code directly into your application, into the backend workflows that you run, and so on. I think the limit with some no-code tools is going to be the scalability of some. If you have an application with I don't know how many users you have, 100,000 and up to, when you get to those numbers, sometimes the tools can, become slow and
Very
expensive.
good point. That's a very good point.
Uh,
What
uh,
happens when you get a Facebook or a Twitter kind
oh,
of traffic, right? Like, I
uh,
mean,
I think at that point, and I believe Bubble offers, now some, enterprises pricings and stuff like that, where you can keep on adding, data and process it faster with dedicated servers and so on. But it's gonna, cost you a fortune.
mm,
So for a bootstrapper who, if he gets to that point where he has, I don't know, 100,000 and a million users and lots of items in all of his databases, the application could get really slow and be almost too difficult to work with.
can you host it in your own servers?
Yes, I know Bubble you can. For the other one, I mean, you don't need to, but Bubble you can, and I think you can even, export the code, and so I'm not sure how all this works, but you can do a few things
Mhm.
to have your own server, or where you host them
Yeah.
wherever you want.
The last question that I have here, and I guess it's also the last question of our chat, is and you kind of already spoke about it a little bit, but what are your customers like? Are they like small businesses, big enterprises, startups?
I'm still kind of discovering what my target is. Each type of client has a different kind of need. As you know, I've worked with a couple of really, solo business owners, where they have really a classical business. It's either teaching or consulting and so on, where I'm going to work with them more into of, spending an hour with them of time just to build out this, or a structured database in Airtable. So it's more, some coaching time with them, pretty much, to tell you, okay, you have this problem, let's build it in an hour together. Because they're the heart of the business, so they need to have their hands into the tools on a daily basis. After that, you have more, I think, small businesses, below 10, 15 people, where it's usually automation work. They need to be more productive. They need to have their salespeople activity more automated to spend more time
Right.
on valuable stuff. And after that, I've had a few scale ups, which was interesting because I didn't think I would have that.
What is a scale up? I don't know.
It's it's a startup that kind of really truly validated their business, and
Between startup and corporate kind of thing.
yeah. So those two, there were 150 employees, and so that time of business, I guess, innovative and so on. Maybe I'm dropping too many, buzzwords or whatever, but that's how they describe themselves. At least they have a team of a product launcher to build either. Not side businesses, but new services alongside the core service of the company, or it's sometimes for one was building out their CRM using
Mhm.
Bubble.
Yeah, got it. And it's a big spectrum, and you're right that for innovation, it's amazing. I really like the idea of using no code tools for innovation for big companies. I think it can go a long way. Pierre, thank you very much. It was so interesting to learn more about the no code world, and I'm super excited actually now to start. Because my bootstrapper side is thinking, okay, I need to try it out because this will make things so much faster. So thank you so much for the time that you shared with us.
A pleasure, and I mean, thanks again for the invite. And that's one of my, I'd say, one long-term goal. I'd love to bootstrap a business, that can make me some money while sleeping, I guess. And fully automated. And if it's all with no code, that'd be super cool. So hope this chat with could be helpful and spread the no code word, I guess.
Yes, for sure. I think a lot of the listeners here will be super excited to try it out. And I will share your Twitter and your website in the description, in the show notes of these episodes. Your Twitter handle is P Tilma, but I will share it anyway so that people can just go and click, make it easy.
And open to DMs or questions from anyone. I try to answer as many as possible, and happy to chat with interested future no coders and bootstrappers.
Well, I'm sure that you'll get a lot of questions now from people. And of course, that everyone that I invite here also gets automatic invite to join our virtual co-working space for bootstrappers. If you have the time, you can also join. There's definitely a lot of people there, and maybe some clients too. Let's see.
Oh, hey. Awesome. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much. And now for our listeners, this was another interview. There's a lot of other interviews about bootstrapping, about entrepreneurship, starting businesses. So just go there and make sure to listen to them. If you want to join our co-working space for bootstrappers and meet other entrepreneurs, you can become a member of this podcast. It's €4 a month, and you can join us. And I'm sure that people will really help you and support you there. And besides that, if you like this, make sure to share it with your friends, share it with your entrepreneur and bootstrapper friends. I'm sure that they will also love to hear about Pierre and about NoCode. So make sure to do that. This was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you next time.